if you don't have the right position of the speakers, your system is maybe running 10 or 15% of its potential. That's what we are talking about. It could happen your speakers are far better than you think. That your electronics are far better than you think.
Exactly what he's saying is one of the things that I have actually done on my channel. If you guys don't follow me on YouTube, Jay's Audiolab, follow me. I have the bigger speakers, the smaller speakers, and this is exactly what I do with mine, but it took me a lot of trial and error, which is the effect of the near field listening that he's referring to. So what we're doing is eliminating the rear wall completely by moving them forward. So this is why you find spaciousness behind. A lot of things happening here. Anytime you put the speaker against the wall, you're interacting with the wall behind. And you really never realize that until you try this. Once you try this, you're going to be begging your wife to let you keep the speakers out. Now I know you got multi-purpose rooms, living rooms and things like that, right, that we all have. But the reality is I found it, exactly what you said, playing with them, and mine are about 7 feet away from the wall behind. And it's impossible for me to ever get them close to the rear wall again, because mentally, what you hear, you just cannot recreate. It's impossible.
How far do you sit from this?
I try to do in a perfect world, you want to do an equilateral triangle. Typically, that's the best way. Now, could you be a little more? Yes. I think it's 1.25 the distance. So if you are 10 feet apart, the speakers are 10 feet apart, you can go as far usually as 11.25 feet away, ideally. Once you begin to go too far, one of the things that I've said many, many times, even on the consultation service that I offer, is you can actually exit the presentation when you go too far. And all you hear is sound. You're not in the music.
Another thing is that if your speakers are noisy, you need to sit further away. If you have very, very quiet speakers that doesn't make a signature on it at the moment, you can move closer.
Yes.
And the closer you can move, the wider the sound stage gets.
Yeah, correct.
And the better the depth perception. And you will
But there's a pretty, I have a few comments here, because there's a pretty precise way of doing this. You need help to do that. If you have two friends, you give your hand and you sit in your listening position. What I do is I take it, if it's a room where I have problems, I will not put them up against the wall, but I will maybe start 3 feet, 4 feet out, and have them totally parallel lined up. And then you move the speakers out, until you find they're sounding best. The next exercise is to move them out, until you have a hole in the middle of the sound station. And then the critical part, and that's the part I don't like, is most speakers are not tuned into the to the listening position. That's extremely critical. So our speakers, they are pointing directly into your face right now. But normally I will point the speakers into each shoulder. And then even half a degree, 1 degree, can make huge changes from pretty good to fantastic, even excellent. And you know when you hit it. There's also another way, if you can't get any help, is to take your speakers to your listening position. I learned that from a British dealer, and find them this way. Then you take a kind of office chair with wheels on, and then you move forward and backwards until you find a position where they're sounding best. That's typical I do when it's really a huge problem in the room.
But most speakers are not designed to be this close to the wall.
Correct.
Is that
That's
correct?
great. Yes.
I mean, your
Yes.
speakers are unique in that sense.
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
correct. Yeah, they're not really, but what he's getting, I'm
I
astonished.
know coming out. But
Yeah, I've never seen
this,
a speaker perform that great so close to the wall.
Right, right.
I'm baffled. Mine are typically, mine would be about right here,
Right.
at least 2-3 feet
No,
away.
I mean, we have the
But I'm
diffuser, it's a simple diffuser. It's here. Here you have it,
You see,
it
yeah.
goes.
We're gonna put the,
Right.
Right, okay.
But the thing is,
All I gotta do is buy a plant.
Yeah.
but the thing is, what we
Green
have,
is good for you.
yeah.
Also the environment.
Now, when you say near field, he mentioned like 11 feet. That's
Yeah, but you can't say that precisely.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Maybe in your case.
Right.
But it can
Well,
be.
30 feet
No,
away.
no, negative. It doesn't, no. I mean, near field is, obviously the word confuses you because you're thinking you're like 2 feet away. Not necessarily. What you're doing is essentially eliminating the boundaries of the room.
Yeah.
Eliminating the walls,
Well, that's
the rear.
if you have a
and-
large enough room.
Yes, of course, correct. But you know, if you look at it, just pay attention to this. Look, this is about more or less about a third of the way from the back wall. If you look at the length of the room, more or less about a third of the way, right? Typically, there is a formula online. You divide the room in 3, and usually this is a good starting point. Typically.
What is the distance between the speakers?
These, they are more than 4 meters.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's usually not a good starting point. You usually have a hole somewhere.
Yeah, but we don't have.
No, you don't.
So we make egocentric products to egocentric people who spend a fortune and a lot of time sitting there. It doesn't mean that they can't be enjoyed. Even outside the door, you can hear them performing well. But there, it's magic
Right there
in that
that's
position.
It's incredible.
So is the near field position the point of the equilateral triangle?
It has to be. It doesn't have
It
to.
doesn't have to be perfect. No.
No, this is not. We have a wider, shorter distance to you than between the speakers here.
Right.
It depends about, on Michael's side, it's about how much noise is coming out from your speaker. You're more noisy, your speakers are, as Michael said, your bigger distance you have to them.
It's almost your ears will tell you when you're locked in,
Yeah.
because the sound will feel like it's even behind you. It'll walk around you.
Exactly.
You'll feel like you're in a bubble, completely swallowed by the presentation. Once you begin to do this, you lose this feeling of magic and disbelief that you get on the speaker with the presentation, and that's when you have to enter again.
But
You'll
all-
know.
Yeah,
That's how it
absolutely
works.
right. And you also have to remember the first bass reflection hits the back wall.
Yeah.
And I hate these bass traps in the corners. Don't fucking put anything in the corners. I mean it seriously. If you put something in the corner, it's not where the problem is. It's the first reflection on the back wall. And in this case, we don't really, of course you can hear it down here, but it's not there. And typically around here, if you want to have a bass trap absorption, it has to be around here. And you have to move them carefully, because even a few inches can make a huge difference on the bass performance. So people think that the bass problem is in the corner. It's not in the corner.
But you can avoid that completely by buying speakers that doesn't spike up in impedance in the bass. Like these.
That's what we have. We have extremely low inductance on the
love it.
driver, so that's why we don't have the problem.
I've never heard a bookshelf sound so big,
It was so
so
immersive.
full, and yet pinpoint precision. Instrumentation, the separation, the imaging, and then the separation that just goes left to right, right to left. It's like,
It was the largest speaker.
to me, it's been,
Yeah, typical.
and I've heard everything, and
And the next question is always, where are you hiding the subs?
well, yeah, I was thinking that.
Yeah, they were-
There's a few high quality subs up there.
Can we get a little
But when you
more?
can hear the subs, the bass, like,
No.
it's shit. It's not music. Because I'm supposed to play a bass line. And it's a good advice to you when you walk around.
Yeah, I love it, man.
You have to be able to follow the bass line. That's the first thing. I go to see you, I will listen to music. Where do you have the bass line or not? If you go to a small club here or whatever, blues club it can be, and there's a fantastic bass guitarist. He's not playing boom. He's playing do 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 do.